Hello, welcome. My name's Jade, and I'm going to be writing for 24 hours. Just to be clear, I'm going to be splitting this up into two 12-hour days, so 12 hours on Saturday and 12 hours on Sunday. I could not start this video without acknowledging Diane Marie. She just did this 24-hour writing challenge, and she made it seem so obtainable and like so much fun and chill. I have seen other writers do this challenge. I've actually just watched a truckload of them. Honestly, the way that Diane just goes about it and just gives herself the grace to get as many words as she can just made it very low pressure, and it seemed obtainable. So if you are looking for more writing channels, I highly recommend Diane. I'll have her 24-hour writing challenge down below, but I recommend any of her videos. She's authentic and sweet, very raw and open with her emotions to the point of you just feeling incredibly comfortable and safe on her channel. But let's go ahead and get into the challenge itself and how I'm going to be structuring it for the next 24 hours. I have some rules or stipulations for myself. The first, I really liked Diane's 15 minutes of every hour is dedicated to writing. So she didn't make it so you have to write every hour for the whole hour. Instead, I'll just be recognizing that I wrote every hour. This might seem mellow and low-key, and that's because it is, because I know once I get started on writing, I don't need it to be super strict and stringent rules. So I'm just trusting myself to actually use this time for writing because I want to do that for myself. This next rule is going to turn some people away, but there is no goal for this writing challenge. I'm not trying to make this a 5K, 10K, 15K weekend. I am just trying to spend time writing, and I really want to condense it down, and I want to see what I'm capable of. The stakes are not high in this video. It's mostly just me enjoying writing and taking you along for the ride. I am a cozy fantasy author. In case you didn't know, I do have one book out. It's The Solstice Court. It's a cozy political fantasy, and right now I'm writing the sequel to it. It's cozy vibes over here. I'm not trying to stress myself out. But what I am doing is honoring the goal of writing for 24 hours. In honoring that, I will not be having any plans or distractions for this weekend. I have cleared my schedule. I've told everyone I'm busy. People who inquired further, I told them the truth that I am writing and that I value that time. And I actually have a dedicated focus on my phone for writing, so it's writing, and the only person able to contact me is my partner, and he knows not to get in touch with me unless it's an emergency for this weekend because he also values my writing time. And on to the final rule, and that is to feed and hydrate myself. Sometimes I get in the groove, I get in the mode, and I look up and the sun is way below the horizon, and I have not consumed anything. So I am making it a rule. I'm not allowed to skip meals. I'm going to keep hydrated. I need writing to be self-care, not self-sabotage. So meals, water, coffee, tea, whatever keeps me going, but I'm going to be feeding and nourishing myself alongside writing. I think that's it. That's pretty much the gist of what you're about to see. I am filming the intro and outro to this in the After Effects. I kind of already know how this goes, and I'm excited for you guys to see it. If you end up liking my video, engage with it if you can. Like the video, comment down below, something of that sort. It really does help my channel, and I am trying to connect more with the writing community. So if you watch writing videos especially, it can really help me find more community and like connect with writers more, because I'd really like to do that. I do feel a little bit more on the outskirts since I am majority booktuber. Yeah, I want to find my writing niche as well. I love both communities a lot. We're all bookish, so yeah, if you could engage with the video. I normally don't ask. I read somewhere that asking helps. With that, let's get into the video. This is me writing for 24 hours, maybe. I'm trying to create mystery, so you know what? Never mind. Let's pop into the morning. first hour done. I'm going to be starting on the second, but this next hour I'm going to push a little bit more to eat more for breakfast, probably make some eggs, and spend part of that time actually eating again. I just wanted to get words on the page as quickly as possible, and that really worked for me. I'm very much so in the zone, so this is going to be a very brief update. I think all of these will be pretty brief. I hopefully put something in my introduction warning you all and giving you rules. I'm kind of making it up as I go, but by the end of this I'll kind of have an idea of what is working and what isn't. Hopefully I told you all about it. It's 9:20. I just finished up my scene and I'm feeling really good about it. I have most of this entire hour left and I am going to write more. I didn't check in. I don't even remember. Did I check in with you in the third hour? I don't think so. I did cut part of a scene, but it made more sense for me to take that out because I decided to go in a different direction for a motivation that still leads to the same place. It just made more sense this way and heightens the tension. I'm still getting a scene I wrote earlier, but I'm moving it, so right now it's outside of the draft and I'll insert it in once I get to that point again. If this is the first vlog you're watching of mine, this is not my first draft. I'm not editing as I go. My story has already been told in full. I know where I'm headed. I have an outline and I have my previous document and I can kind of like pull from that. But I'm actually not trying to look at the last draft itself. I am trying to work off of like memory and understanding and flow because the prose in that draft didn't matter at all. It was more of just getting the story out and then making sure it was legible when I looked over it again. This time I'm writing the story from a place of knowing the story and expressing it in the best way I know how. I feel pretty confident actually about the 45% mark. I've actually felt really strong about where my story is going, which is fantastic because I mean this is what would be considered the saggy middle and it doesn't feel saggy to me. It actually feels like it really ramps up in the middle. The scene I just wrote feels really good and I'm really enjoying the direction. I'm really glad in hour 2, I think, I made that shift in motivation and it clicked. It made so much sense. I still have a few hours before lunch and I am going to go ahead and replenish my water supply. Maybe get some extra coffee in, but I'm actually feeling like really good right now. Like I'm energized, I'm awake, so I might just stick with water. I'm also moving over to my kotatsu, which is like my heated table. It's getting a little chilly, which is nice for keeping me awake, but I'm already awake. Also just for a change of scenery. It's a cloudy day outside. I'm not really gaining any inspiration from the sun. And then eventually I won't be in my pajamas. I just have not had a need to switch. But anyway, I've wasted enough time as it is, so I'm going back to this draft. And it's going really well. I can't show you the actual page because it has like every spoiler you could possibly imagine on it. It's literally just a 2-sentence summary of each scene, or like sometimes there'll be a cluster of scenes if I think that they're connected. Maybe even like plot point. Yeah, maybe they're plot points. I just marked off plot point 23 and there are, oh my god, where's the end? How ungratifying. There are 49 plot points total, but that's not the end of the book. That is where I need to get to because the end of this book is probably saying about how it is. That is what I spent the most time on at the end of looking at this draft. I'm not expecting a lot of rewriting on that. I'm expecting kind of more of a cut and paste and then read through to make sure that everything is smooth and that it fits into this draft, including plot point 50 that's already complete. There's 49 in total and I'm on 23, which is almost halfway, like, you know, 25, 50, 23. I didn't have the checklist in the beginning, and once I realized how many of these I was actually checking off, it felt so good. I highly recommend, if any form of outlining works for you, going through and just having every single plot point, every single thing that's going to move your story forward in a long checklist, and just check them off as you go, or make it like halfway through your process, because going back to this and checking off almost half of my entire draft really feels good and really lets me see visually all in one place like a condensed victory. There's a couple of these that are marked that are going to take longer because they have little POV dashes on them. That means that I will be writing that scene in multiple POVs to see which one most interesting, most compelling, so I can see whose perspective I really need to focus on in that scene. I am a multi-POV writer for sure, and this is one of the exercises I do. I will take all of the characters that are in that scene, both minor and major, and I will write the scene multiple times, following the same consistencies but from different perspectives. Even if I don't use that perspective, I always find out something new about the scene, or I'm able to add small movements in or things because I know what the other characters are doing in their portion of the scene. I don't do this with every scene, but scenes where I feel a disconnect or I feel like it's falling flat, I have that. So a couple of these are going to take longer, but this one coming up is one of those, and I'm thinking I know whose perspective I will be in, but I don't actually know how to write her very well, which is all the more reason why I should give it a shot, but I'm also very excited for it, so we shall see. It's 9:40 right now, and I'm going to try and get the beginning of this scene started. The perspective I'm most certain that I'll be writing in, but it's not the first perspective I've written in, so it should be interesting to like go back and see the different perspectives and what I gleaned from each one, because right now I'm just going to be in the zone and I'm not really going to be thinking about the other characters' perspectives and comparing them. I'll just know what I know, go in, and see what I get out of it.
Welcome to my cabin stay weekend vlog, I guess. So I can sit with my coffee here in the morning. It is so nice here.
It is now 12:45, which I was expecting. I was expecting to only get a short amount of time in so that I could eat and kind of like relax, but I'm still going to be writing in this hour, so no fear. I did kind of like get a little bit more ready for the day as well. In my last sprint, I got my lunch ready to eat, and then I ate my lunch, and then I watched a part of Rachel's video. She stayed at a cabin in the woods, and it's an hour-long video, and she picked like the perfect books to read alone in the woods. I'm so proud of her. I'm only 22 minutes in because I'm using it for my like little breaks in between. It's my snack, my treat for doing a good job, along with finishing the book is a pretty good treat. But yeah, that was really nice and kind of a nice reset. Getting myself ready for the day, I felt like I degrunged myself and it kind of like refreshed me. Where are we? What are we doing? I did finish 24 and I'm halfway through what's happening in 25. I know my numbers aren't big for these sprints. I guess they're not sprints, they're just like hours and hours of writing. Kind of am a little bit more concise in this draft. Like the things that make my writing like a little bit more flowery, descriptive, and all of that will be added in, and I do have some of it here, but a lot of it is just me moving through the story and making sure the characters are doing what they're supposed to do. I'm not worried about the amount of words I'm getting in because I feel like I'm getting the right amount of words. The scenes are moving. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Things are being severed, and best of all, they're being severed on schedule. I'm going to go ahead and pivot into writing again. It won't be much, but it'll be something for these last 12 minutes now. And then I'll just continue on into the next hour, which is crazy because I am now halfway through my first day and I feel like I have plenty of energy. I don't know when it's going to wear out, but I'm guessing it'll be around 3. Stopping to say, it doesn't matter how well you know your book or your world, these random little things will always get through. I realized, because I put Xelos, which is the name of a city, next to the word Zenkesh, I was like, oh, they both have X's at the beginning. No, they don't. I was like, do they? And then I looked at my map, the map that is officially in my book, and it has a Z, Xelos. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe that was a mistake that Cheyenne made when she made the map. But of course, Cheyenne was working off of my map. that I made. So I did some digging in my own work. I did a control search in my officially published book, and it's all Z. I look in my current manuscript and it's all X. That means I went through this entire draft twice without realizing that I'd spelt a major city in one of my kingdoms wrong continuously. There is no Z in Xelos in this draft. I have to switch all of them. Not a single one accidentally, instinctually made it through. That's so annoying. I feel like I know this world so well. Why am I spelling Xelos with an X? Now I'm realizing I like it better with an X, but it's too late. Like, sometimes you just have to let things go. My world is already out there. People already know my world. I'm not switching it to X now. I had my chance. It's scattered away in the wind. It's over now. Just know, in my heart of hearts, I now, as a fully fledged author, would prefer if Xelos was spelt with an X, but it never will be. It'll always be a Z. Okay, it is now 2:11. I finished the next scene that I had set out to write, so that's good. The scene as a whole is its own like small like snippet chapter, but it's only about 800 to 900 words. It had a lot of choreography in it, so it did take a really long time because I have to picture how the characters are moving. It just takes a while. It's not fast words. That definitely ate up a lot of time, but I'm glad that that scene is done because it moves me into the next scene, and then the next scene has a lot more dialogue in it. If you've watched my other vlogs, it'll take me back into garden because this scene needed to be in front of garden. It's just in a separate area. I'm probably not making sense. I'm very much so immersed in this, so I don't know what you don't know. I also know that I can't spoil anything because this is a sequel. Something's happening. There was a lot of action in that scene, but it needed to be choreographed and make sense. Lots of Komodo too, which are my dragons, so that was fun. Oh, I definitely have not been moving enough today, but that's kind of not what today is about. Today isn't really about movement. I just feel so stiff when I actually move. I don't want to end up like making it worse on myself tomorrow because I still have a whole other day of doing this. Yeah. Okay, I'm really starting to feel it. I've only written 50 words and it's 2:42 and I don't know what happened. I mean, technically I've written enough for this hour to count, but like 42 words when I've been doing so good, so much momentum, so many plot things, so many things moving. I want to write more. My brain is just not working. What time is it? It's only 2:43. I know what this scene needs to be. I have all the information right here. I have a rough layout of what it should look like. I know what it is. I'm just not typing and I don't know what's wrong. Like I just keep thinking about it and then I look at my page and I'm like, you haven't written anything yet? No, I can't stop at 42. It just feels so low. It's such a low number. I shouldn't care. Maybe there's a different scene I can jump to. That last scene was just so good and like exactly how I wanted it to be, and it was so action-packed, and this next scene is diplomatic. It's a direct reaction to the scene I just had. It's like a emotional turmoil versus physical turmoil, and like I'm physically in turmoil. What's doing? That's pretty far ahead. Whatever, this is my book. I can do what I want. I'm jumping. And sitting in a tree. 406 and I have 433 words. I definitely have noticed a decline in my actual writing, but the scene that I'm working on now is new. I had it outlined in my other draft. Now I'm like going into the logistics of it and really understanding what's happening in this scene, what needs to happen in this scene. It's going slower, but it is moving. I could add an extra 200 words onto my word count, but I know I'm not keeping it. They were false starts. They were just me trying to get started on the scene and trying to see what I wanted to say, and each one was kind of like a false start, and then I finally hit a note that I wanted to hit and then was able to move forward from there. I also looked up a lot of different words for poop just because I was trying to come up with some different insults. I ended up just settling on scat, but I don't know if I'll end up changing it later. And then I have the term drivel jaw, so someone calls another person a drivel jaw, and I actually got drivel from one of my 1-star reviews. They said my first book was drivel, but I actually really liked the word drivel, so I'm adding it into book 2. It's 5:16 and I'm doing a quick check-in. This last hour I got 518 words, as you saw, because I'm trying to record in, but they were 518 very good words, which was fantastic. I really wish I could tell you what it was, because like even like a small inkling would give too much away. So I can't say what it was, but I can just say it's really exciting, and it was something like came to fruition in the first book, but in the initial draft I kind of ignored it. All of these scenes are kind of new. The same plot points still happen. I don't know how I missed this connection, this chemistry. It is acknowledged in the third book, but it was never on page, and I really didn't think anything of it. But it is going to make everything a lot more impactful, and I can't say anything about it whatsoever. It's crazy. It's crazy to not be able to talk about things openly, because all I want to do is tell everyone everything. Like, I just want to read this list of plot points and be like, doesn't that sound fun? As far as my coziness situation, I did go back to my desk and I did immediately get more words in, so there's something to be said about the work environment. I also lit one of my little scented candles. It's cinnamon donut, and the cinnamon is so crazy potent, and it's perfect. I wish I had one of the big ones of the cinnamon, because cinnamon is exactly what I need for some of these scenes, especially in Zenkesh. It fits it perfectly, and this little candle is going to be doing double duty because 80% of my book is in Zenkesh. I also have some atmosphere going in the background. I love being able to have my projector. It just takes up the entire wall with my fort. It's feeling very cozy in here, which is also very conducive to better writing for me. Just a space I can kind of like hunker down in. I think another thing that has really bumped up my word count is it not being midday. I definitely was jiving with the morning and then started to have an uptick of energy in the evening. It's just that midday chunk. It's truly the saggy middle. I'm in my 5 p.m. hour slot, and then I have my 6 p.m., and that is all I am required to do for the day. But because I'm feeling like this breadth of energy, I'm going to see if I maybe pick this back up after dinner, but I also don't want to stay up too late because I am waking up at the same time tomorrow morning to do this exact same thing. Decisions are going to be made. First, I'm going to go ahead and finish this scene, get some drama in, and then get dinner started. Well, it's 7:03. I was like in the middle of trying to figure something out. Couldn't be that much because I just kept backtracking, and I don't know why. I usually am able to do this dialogue really easily. I know these two characters really well. I know how they interact together. Maybe I need to put them in a different setting. I think it's too much of the same. These two characters are in this kind of setting in the first book. Having them in this setting, I kind of play through their same lines that they had in book 1. And I don't know where to put them. I have to really think about that. But I still haven't done my count. Hold on. A reminder that this is a lot of dialogue and a lot of dialogue deleted. Oh, 3:30. That's not bad. So my 6 p.m. and the end of officially day 3 is 3:30. I didn't think I was going to struggle with this as much because this is kind of how I wrote the books initially. I hyper-focused in. I didn't really do anything else. I just did this. Over the course of months, I did end up having all 3 books complete. They were not well done. I was just looking at my first draft. This is the draft that Yumi never even saw of book 2. So she never saw this draft. She never touched this draft. She will be touching this version of the draft that I'm writing now. I'm so glad she didn't see this draft, and I feel so bad for having her seen my first one. But I kind of see it like, if you see animation sketches from like Disney or Pixar or anything like that, the rough sketches of each scene, that's what I'm seeing in my first draft, or the concept art of what my books will be. And I feel really good about where book 1 ended up. So I just need to trust my process and the fact that I do have it in me to get me there, but I will need an editor's help for sure. And I like that part of the process. I do kind of miss it. Let's go ahead and calculate up all of the words I got today. Let's go ahead and do some math. 273, 538, 702, 586, 729, 252, 204, 201, 81. My 2 p.m. hour was rough, I guess. Ooh, we're getting, dare I say, we have 518 and 162. Oh, Ah! My total word count for the day, 4,979. 20 words. All I can think about is my 2 p.m. and being like, you couldn't push it to 100? You couldn't have a 5K day? So I was thinking about this earlier. I was playing with the idea in my head. Now I'm sure of it. I'm not done. I'm gonna make myself some tea. I'm going to go ahead and keep going. It doesn't need a night of rest right now, so I'm not gonna be calculating my hours from here on out, but I will go ahead and mark where I start, and then I'll see where I get in the morning and how many words I got. Hi, speaking quietly because it's day 2 and it's 5:51 in the morning and not everyone wants to do this writing challenge. Maybe nobody. It was like harder to get up. This is my regular work schedule, but I mean, it's the weekend and I normally wake up around this time and go to work. Tomorrow is Monday and I'll be waking up at this time and going to work and trying to get little bits of my book done. Didn't fare well with my early morning brain. Definitely having day 2 energy. I also need to erase this because this is all day 1 and I want to be able to easily track like yesterday for today. And then I guess I'm not going to get started right at 6 because I do want to eat my food. Read through what I have, eat my food, and then finish reading through what I did yesterday. I do remember what I wrote yesterday, but I haven't seen it all together in the flow of the story, and I do think I want to see that because it might inspire something else. I also noticed, when I was thinking back on yesterday, I didn't listen to any music, which is weird. I usually, to get in like a certain scene or certain headspace or a different character, I go straight to my playlist. I think it's just because I was so excited about this challenge. Which is so great. Love past Jade for that. Today I'll be listening to music for sure. I am procrastinating a little bit. I can sense it. I probably won't look much different. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to false advertise here, but you will see me soon. I definitely can see a little bit of overwriting here. Like I tried to pick up and do some pro things I'm noticing that I think that I'm going to try and avoid today and just go with the written word, but try and make the written word crisp enough to understand. I can say broken cups were under feet. Like I can just say that. Instead I went with crumbs of clay from cups crunched underfoot, which is great. I think I'm going to delete from crumbs of clay cups crunched underfoot. Say it 3 times with me. Crumbs of clay cups crunched underfoot. Crumbs of clay I'll be changing that, but not today. For now, you stay, but someone's gonna get you. 6 a.m. Let's go, James. It is 7:02. The sun has risen and I got 473 words. Not bad considering how long I was looking up sunsets because I wanted to describe a certain image and there's like a tradition with sunsets in Zenkesh, so I wanted to make sure I had like the right sunset. I needed it to be the right colors. I needed it to also be in the correct atmosphere because depending on where you are in the world, your sunsets may look a little different. The sunset itself isn't different, but like if you have a lot of mountain ranges, you're not going to get some of the deeper colors because you'll miss it because they go behind the mountain and then they disperse because of the atmosphere. And I found the perfect sunset and I know what it does and it fits into the tradition, but I don't know how long I was looking at that. I don't know how long that took. I do feel more in the flow. I know that my first update was bleak. I'm better now, or at least more caffeinated. It's getting a little chilly. I am going to move over to the kotatsu. I also want to get more words in, and yesterday this is where my decline happened. So if I notice in this next hour that I got a lot less words, or I notice that I'm starting to slip, it's too early, these are where some of my best words should be, so I will move back here and just, you know, freeze to death. Okay, we have entered the 8 o'clock hour. 7 a.m.'s hour was actually fantastic. I knew exactly what I needed to do, and then I did it, and it worked out, and it flowed really nicely. I haven't looked back at it, but like the writing process was flowing really nicely. I was cut a little short though. I probably would have made it to 1,000, but we had an earthquake drill this morning. They like to do it at 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. That kind of took some time up, especially since you don't know it's a drill right away unless you hear the before announcement. I was writing, so I didn't hear what he said when the announcement started. It was just something, 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 and then a blaring sound. But at the end, he clarified that it was a drill, so I'm like, oh, that's great. Also, the earth wasn't shaking. I had that on my side. But otherwise, yeah, it's going really well. I need to update my coffee. It is once again cold. I love how this chapter just ended. Like, it ended perfectly where I'm like, yep, that ending will probably be in the final draft. And I still have 9 minutes left before the end of this hour. I'll probably take those 9 minutes and relax, do something non-writing related. I have been writing for the majority of each hour, so I feel like I have been actually writing for like, what, 14 hours? Each time I tried to stop and take a break, I was like, but how many weekends do you have like this? And I just kept going and going and going. Obviously, I lost steam a couple of times and I had to make food items, but the idea here is that you write at least a little bit every hour, but I feel like I'm writing the majority of each hour. Like, my fingers aren't always on the keyboard and I'm doing little updates like this, but this feels right now, maybe it's because of the high of finishing this chapter and having it be exactly how I wanted it to be, but I'm feeling really good about it. I think this is half of a chapter, depending on its length. This might be its own chapter. I might end Garden and then go to this chapter and let it be by itself. I'm gonna go mark the number down of words. It's 466. I might not start right away in the next hour just because, like, that is the end of a chapter and that feels nice. I kind of want to just sit with it. Okay, the 9 a.m. hour was cursed. I got 56 words in the 9 a.m. hour. I actually had to go back a chapter, so the chapter I'd done in the 8 a.m. hour is actually the chapter after this one, so I'd skipped ahead because I was kind of like interested in writing it. This chapter has a lot going into it. It starts with action and a lot of emotional tension. Right at the beginning of the chapter, I just felt like I needed to get it right. Not like the first line. I wasn't trying to be punchy. I needed to be fully immersed in like the feelings and the things that were happening so that I could momentum wise move the plot forward and do all of the actions and get the characters and understand where they were coming from as the scene progressed, and I just was not doing that. I also have only had cereal and coffee today, so I'm going to go take a walk to the Family Mart, pick up something for lunch, finish writing, probably not get much more in the 9 a.m. hour, but at least I'll have gotten something and I'll be fed. Maybe I'll just listen to music on my walk over and then I'll come back and I'll feel it. Okay, I ended up actually jogging, getting a super long makizushi, and now I'm going to eat it, continuing to listen to music, so I'm feeling fired up, and I'm going to use this energy into that draft. I only have 25 minutes left in this hour. It won't be very many words, but it'll definitely push me into the next hour. Sorry for the lack of updates. I have been stuck on this like scene. There's like two scenes. No, it's one scene, but it's two. A scene in a chapter called Garden. I'm at like a crossroads here and how to get to my objective. Either way, I need to get to a certain topic being covered and an emotion being elicited and a manipulation being made. All very ominous, but that's what it is. Garden is ominous. This statue right now is two different people. I have two completely different scenes that end at the same conclusion, but how they get there is totally different. So there's a statue where it's one person as a statue and another scene where it's a different person as a statue. And I can't choose which statue. They both ultimately get to the goal and they both have pieces in there that I want to highlight and I want to show off, but I can't without the other. Having this statue in this garden either way is like a power play, and I don't know which power play I want to play because I'm not evil. Moments like this drive me crazy. I just want to give like 10 random people these different scenes and see which one they like more. I really want to make this a decision though. I like feeling really strong about the decisions I make in there. It's not that things can't change, but when there's something up in the air like this, the fact that it could just be one or the other, that makes me feel crazy. That makes it feel less real. I need to concrete my reality. I only have 3 hours left and I don't want to stop. It's addictive. Like being in this world and getting to like see what happens next is addictive. And when I get caught on these little moments, it almost like makes the addictive energy fester more because now I know that I'm not going to get to the next scene that I really want to get to. And so I just want to like work through it, get to it, and then push through and get to that next scene. I guess writing is going well. I sound crazed. That is because writing's going well. I've been typing so much that my nail polish that I did yesterday is starting to come off. That is like a physical proof. I think I'll try and do better check-ins just because we're getting down to the end, and that means the end of this vlog, and I will have to end this vlog. I have to eventually stop writing, but right now I don't want to stop writing. I don't even want to talk to you. I don't even feel here right now. I don't feel like I'm here. I'm still thinking about the damn statue, to be perfectly honest. Like, that's the only thing in my head right now. Words are coming out. None of it's real. Only that statue is, and I have to know which one. I'm going with the dancer statue instead of the bard, but if you see the bard statue in the final draft, know that I never said this. I wrote the scene. Ultimately, both were really good. Well, you know, not to toot my own horn, but both elicited an emotion from me. However, one had better one-liners, and that's honestly what it came down to. It came down to the banter. It's gotta come down to something. It might as well be banter. 520, and I have 537 words. There's no way this is going to amount to the amount I'm thinking. 80,000 words is my total for November, but I don't think I need 80,000 words. I think I need more like 50. I think I might have to change my pacemaker goal to 50,000 words for the month of November because I don't think I need more to finish this book, which is fine. By all means. I was expecting a very high word count. My first draft of this, like the zero draft that no one will ever see, hold on, let me look up how long it was because it was short for the sequel. It was 100,000 words for the sequel to the Solstice Court, and it's like most bloated, everything in there, poorly written, passive voice form. When I slimmed it down, it ended up being 72,000. I shit you not, 72,000 words. Now I'm going through and I'm adding scenes and I'm like bulking it out and I'm making this draft something completely ready to go to Yumi, my editor. I keep saying Yumi and I have no idea if you know who that is. She's my editor. And I don't think it's going to reach the 140 of the final draft of this book, and it shouldn't. Like, now that I'm really thinking about it, it shouldn't. This is 140,000 words, and I love it as it is. I wouldn't take anything out. My final draft of this book will probably be like this, but that's not going to be this draft. This draft is not my final draft. It literally has to go through Yumi and then back to me, and then I make those revisions and then possibly back to Yumi and then back to me and then to alpha readers and then back to me and then to beta readers and then back to me, and then me and ARC readers at the same time get to have a nice fun panic session. They read my book and review it and I panic. That's the way of things, and by the end of that, my book I think will still be around this length. That's not this draft. What was I thinking? How many videos has this been? We're like halfway halfway through November, don't even know where to put any of the feelings that I have harvested and I'm just harboring inside of me, waiting for Yumi to tell me where they go because I don't naturally know that. I remember doing this with the first book, but I was so unaware of what was happening. I was just going through each step until I got to publication. I didn't really pay attention to what each step was. So this step is just me rereading the book I told myself, and each chapter needs to be better than the first time I read it. I'm definitely going to probably close this out later, but with 30 minutes left, I'm going to see what I can get done here, and then I'll give my final word count, and then I'll have a more put together version of me go ahead and give you the rundown and the outros and whatever emoji you're supposed to put in here, that fun stuff. Final 30 minutes. Let's go. It is the end of this writing vlog. Let me check all of my notes because that was a whirlwind to edit. Let's go ahead and get the word count out of the way just so we know what we're working with as I talk and reflect about this writing challenge. Day 1, I ended up with 5,403 words. This is fantastic, and it was not something I was really expecting, again, because I went in with no goals. I just wanted to give myself that time to write, and it really paid off. I ended up with a 5K day without even meaning to. Then day 2, I ended up with 5,024 words. That is 2 5K days in a row for a combined amount of 10,427 words. I'm really excited to see these numbers, and I'm more excited because I know that they translated into my draft as good writing. I didn't write 17, 18, 20,000 words. Instead, I wrote 10,000 really good words that I think is going to carry me on into further drafts, and it just felt like I accomplished something this weekend. That out of the way, I deem this a success, but let's talk about what I would maybe change and what I think works for me moving forward in case you want to do this, or if you're just curious to know. First, while I didn't set a goal for myself, I did front load this challenge by watching a whole bunch of different 24-hour writing challenges to get kind of an idea of how I wanted to go about it and how I wanted to structure it. I saw people that gave themselves hard set goal. I saw how stressed and frustrated they were. So I didn't want to do that. But I was watching them hit really big numbers per hour, and while they were stressed that they weren't reaching their goal, I was creating an expectation for myself to write as they were, because some of them were writing over 2,000 words an hour. That's not even close to what I got to. I do notice in this video, I applied a lot of pressure or criticized myself a lot when I got a lower word count and not really realizing that I was having a 5K day. Legitimately less than 100 words away from 5K, and was annoyed because I hadn't reached it within the first 12 hours. I would take the word count pressure out because the value of my words definitely amounted to more than the quantity of them. And I also think I wouldn't watch a whole bunch of the challenge I was about to do. So just not comparing myself to others. I think it's something that a lot of people can relate to struggling with, but I definitely want to be conscious of the fact that that's still something that I do. Next is meal prep. Did nourish myself throughout this video. I made food, I ate food, I made lots of different drinks, just kept on having to feed myself, and it took a lot of time. So I wouldn't take feeding myself out of the equation, but I would do meal planning or meal prep. Biggest hacks that I have moving forward when I do this again is I'm going to plan my meals. They don't have to be super extravagant. They don't even have to be aesthetically pleasing. If you've watched my vlogs before, we're not here for the aesthetics, but I really wish that I would have had just like things set aside so I could just grab and keep going. The last thing I would change is definitely the amount of movement or lack thereof and music. I wish I would have taken more time to listen to my playlist, to immerse myself in a more relaxing way and let that be part of the process. I also think that there's ways that I can still be moving my body more, and I think that in some of those moments where I was soft writing, which is me thinking about my story before I write it down, I could have gotten up and moved more. My stretches were a little stiff, and I definitely felt it the next day. But I do applaud myself for going on that run, because afterwards I definitely got really good words in, and it was due to the fact that my body was like warmed up and ready, and it was like almost in the state of mind that my character needed to be. Let's talk about what worked, because obviously something worked. I wrote 10,000 words in 2 days. Waking up early and getting words down ASAP works for me. I read words, I wrote words, sat at my desk, I showed you my phone and then I threw it away and just focused on writing. It really showed up in the first few hours of me writing. The next thing was tracking words per hour. This is not something I normally do. I'm really finicky with it with vlogs just because I get in the writing mode and then I have to be like, I don't know what this word count was, let me check. Tracking my words per hour was really cool for the end result. If I take away my criticism and judgment for perfectly good amounts of words, it's really helpful and really cool to know what I can accomplish in an hour. That also allows me to set realistic expectations for myself moving forward. It allows me to know like what's my minimum and what's my maximum and how can I spread that out so when I look at my pacemaker app and it's telling me, hey, you're gonna have to write 1,000 words each day, I can, instead of thinking it's realistic or unrealistic, I can plan ahead and figure out how to actually make that possible or change my expectations so that I can still achieve goals and not feel like crap at the end. And then finally, having focus mode and not being on my phone. Fling that thing away. You don't need it while you're writing. When my focus went off at 6 p.m., I had 87 messages, 13 emails, and 3 calls from relatives. That would have eaten up my entire weekend. I'm so glad that I missed them because they weren't urgent and I didn't feel the pressure and I'd already told everyone. Advocate for that time. Tell people no, because what you're doing is you're valuing your work, you're valuing your writing time, and you're giving yourself something that you deserve. My final farewell is getting to add acorns to my jar. Every acorn is 1,000 words. And I now have 10 more. This looks so substantially better than it did before. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, go ahead and leave the clock emoji because we're valuing our time. But whether you do or not, I hope you're enjoying the sun or more stars wherever you are. And until next time, bye!